Welcome to Frieze Masters 2023. This year we're showing two artists, one Tajiri and the other Wagemaker. This would be Tajiri's centennial. He was born in Watts, California, of Sumerai parents and therefore Japanese immigrants on December the 7th, 1923. And so on his 18th birthday, he was interned, and the way of getting out of internment, they had formed a battalion of Japanese immigrants. And so he was sent to Italy, where he was wounded out and came back to the States, at which stage he went to the Art Institute of Chicago. From there, he took up a GI scholarship and went to Paris, where he studied under Zadkine and Leger, and was part of the Cobra group in 1949. And then he moved later to Amsterdam and lived the rest of his life in Amsterdam. He did go once to Japan and had an exhibition with the Tokyo Gallery. And in 1965, he got a professorship in Minneapolis. Whilst he was in Europe, he spent quite a lot of time in Berlin and in fact chronicled the whole of the Berlin Wall. The reason we chose to put Wagemaker in is that you can see that the Tajiris are all sculptures, and we can basically fill one wall with maquettes on the wall. But Wagemaker and Tajiri were in various exhibitions in Holland together, but in particular they both represented Holland at the 1962 Venice Biennale. And Wagemaker's paintings are very, very textural, and a lot of Tajiri's sculptures are very textural too, but we'll go round to those later. So we start with these three works, which are really Cobra-esque, and they have sort of funny titles. This is David and Mrs. Goliath, and strange things seems to be happening between them there. And this one, which is called Moonscape, was at one stage called Hermaphrodite. All Tajiri's works, he was very anti-war and anti-violence, and there's a lot of eroticism in it. So you have these two mixtures. So we start, it's a fairly chronological exhibition, having shown you there. Then we have these sort of the strange satellite and whatever, just very organic and quite phallic in ways. Then this work, which is called Victory at Maidenhead, is about one of the great War of Independences. And here he used many different techniques. And here, this is from bronze drippings. These are bits found in the foundry afterwards. But as you can see, again, it's quite erotic or sexual. Then this is a iron piece, and then this is a obit, which is so these are gravestone heads. And then we have two warriors. Now these are made with a technique he used a lot of with red brick. Now red bricks were a very soft, porous, that it allowed him to carve into them and take them out and make things, and then cast into it, and then it would all crumble away. So it was a very easy and interesting technique. So you have these sort of friendly, erotic warriors. They're not, you don't feel they're going to take over. And this is another gravestone. Then when he was in Minneapolis, he was commissioned to make a sort of peace monument by the Dayton's department store. But it was actually in the St. Paul's one, which is huge. But this is the maquette that he gave to Bruce Dayton, who was one of the Dayton boys. And then you have Tower of Babel. One wonders sort of how he manages to make these, cast them with a bronze ball inside. But the techniques are extraordinary. They're often many different. Then you have fortress here, which with obvious connotations, but with a lot of nails and things. Then towards the end of his life, he made these Ronins. So, there's a lot of Japanese influence, as one can see. As I say, you can take the boy out of Japan, but you can't take Japan out of the boy. And these were made out of polystyrene, and then cast, sand cast, so the polystyrene completely disappears. And so it's an interesting way of doing it. And so you get this very smooth, perfect edges. As one goes down here, you see the backs of them. You can see how that was worked and this. So you can see that the surfaces go perfectly with Wagemaker. Then he did a series of big machines, of which this is one of the smaller ones, which here is standing alongside number 6, which has just been bought by the Tate. So you can see how the difference is. The one in the Tate owns is about 3 meters high. Then we go into, then he goes into ropes and knots, which are sometimes quite erotic, sometimes very gentle. So here, for instance, the Queen Mother, the ex-Queen Beatrix, commissioned him to do a large piece for her country house. And these are 2 maquettes. And in the end, I think that's the one she chose, so it was made bigger. One's called Not for the Queen, and the other one's Royal Not for the Queen. And so here are 2 others. So this little wall is sort of maquettes for knots. So it makes a little family of knots there. Now throughout Holland, there are a lot of big knot sculptures of his. He's very well known in Holland, but not so much here. So, although they look very complex, they're quite simple if you sort of follow it round. But if you ask somebody to draw it, they get it wrong every time. So these are little, then here, this one's called Astronaut, which is rather sweet. I don't know what he's doing, or what he's preparing to do. I hope you have a chance to see it. He's having the Bonifanten Museum in Maastricht. He's having organized by his grandchildren, a centennial show, and then next year the Grey Art Gallery in New York is doing a GI in Paris exhibition, of which he'll be in. But I think anybody who comes will be surprised and hopefully enjoy it. Hope to see you here.